break, and then 2 after. Then we have a whole hour for questions and answers. So please keep notes during the sessions so that you can ask the speakers your questions during the panel discussion, okay? So we will not be leaving time for questions after each talk. So our first speaker today is Dr. Benjamin Asher. He is an otolaryngologist in New York City, and he takes an integrative approach to patient care in his practice. Dr. Asher was a meditation teacher before attending medical school at Drexel University. He served as chief resident during his otolaryngology residency at the University of Iowa and completed a fellowship in pediatric otolaryngology at Harvard Medical School. Dr. Asher has served on the faculty at Harvard, Washington University, and Dartmouth Medical Schools. And he was on the board of the American Holistic Medical Association and founded and chaired the Committee on Alternative Medicine for the American Academy of Otolaryngology Head and Neck Surgery. I met Benjamin many years ago at this symposium, and I am thrilled to have the opportunity to host this session so that we could invite him here to share his approach to integrative and holistic health care for the vocalist with us. So Dr. Asher, please.
Thank you very much, Nancy, for inviting me. I feel very honored to be able to speak here and present and talk about a subject that is very near and dear to my heart. Some of the things that I'll be saying will be new information, some things will be old information, and some things will be somewhat controversial. And I just ask that you have an open mind and an open heart. And I'm a big fan of Brene Brown. Anybody here like Brene Brown? So I'm going to be vulnerable today. So I have no disclosures, and I own no supplement companies. I'm selling nothing. But I wanted to talk a little bit about bias, just in terms of how those of us that are practicing complementary alternative medicine versus this field of just conventional Western medicine. And there is an enormous bias in the medical community in subtle ways against alternative and complementary medicine. And then one of the big ways the bias takes place is that the field of evidence-based medicine, which I'm all for evidence, and all the things that I talk about have evidence for them in this talk. I haven't put all the citations, but if you want to know them, I can provide them for you. But there's a bias because it costs a lot of money to do randomized clinical trials. And since the NIH funding was gutted under Ronald Reagan, there's no independent funding except for what comes out of Big Pharma. And so there is a huge bias in medicine towards Big Pharma because that's where the randomized clinical trials are going. But if you look through the papers, there are many smaller studies supporting the use of many of these modalities. And that's what I'm basing that on, as well as my clinical experience. I've been doing this for many years. So I've worked in the field of holistic and complementary medicine, or whatever the title is, I don't really even know anymore. But in any case, I've been doing this really since the very beginning of my medical practice, or my medical career. When I was in medical school, and I went to Hanan, that's what it was called back then, I was actually working with chiropractic students learning about manipulation at the same time. So I've been really interested in this for many, many years. As Nancy mentioned, I started out as a meditation teacher. I started meditating when I was 16, and I've been carrying that on, and I turned 65 on Sunday. So I do hands-on healing in just about everybody that comes into my office for whatever reason. My practice consists of, it's about maybe 15 to 20% voice performers, and then the rest of my practice is chronic illness, people that have been to everybody else and can't find a solution to their problems and are looking for some other way to treat what's going on. So I do a lot of hands-on healing. It's a different modalities. I mentored with an osteopath for a number of years, so I do some osteopathic work, I do some myofascial work and energy work. I include that in all of what I do, and it's very effective. And in the last 5 years, I've been working with some indigenous healers. I've had some experiences going down working with this Mayan medicine man, which was a quite profound experience for me and completely radically changed the way I look at things. And I'll share a little bit about that. So when people come in with a voice issue to my office, I do consider the larynx as a big part of the problem, and then how we're using our voice, that's also a big part. But because of my more holistic approach, I actually look at the individual and their environment, how they're related to their families, and all the issues that are going on there, and how they're just their connection to everything is affecting their health. I look at them as psychospiritual beings, and I include that in what I do with people. And then in terms of looking at the whole person, I actually consider the entire infinite universe as part of the picture, and in the mystery, what the mystery is all about. People are coming in with anxiety and fear, and trying to work with how we're connected, what it is really to be a human being, how we're connected to the entire whole, is a big part of healing. So as it's obvious from what I'm saying, nothing exists in isolation, and I really work with that